Paul Heyman is out of there because he was not getting dem ratings for WWE because his plan to build new stars apparently was taking too long, even though reportedly that's what he said it would do. He said it would take 18 months. They gave him less than a year. And Bruce Pritchard is now taking over both Raw and SmackDown from a creative standpoint. And the reported reason for this is that his mandate is clear, and that is get ratings. We need to pull these ratings back up because they've been in a slump since we've all gone into lockdown and we're in this no fans era of wrestling. And so that's what he's done. He's brought back the Big Show. He is putting more focus on Randy Orton. He had Christian have his first match in 8 years. Edge and Orton were doing the greatest match ever and all of this sort of stuff. Ric Flair is back. They are doing. We are a couple of weeks away. I mean, I'm predicting this that Austin is going to have an in-ring segment because that's usually what they do. Like when the ratings are bad, it's Austin has a segment with Vince McMahon. So the question is, why are ratings so important?
They are and they aren't. That's the thing. Like WWE, I think, are more obsessed with them than they should be. And I certainly think like some of the worst things they've done booking wise have been kind of ratings grabs. Goldberg, for example, awful that. But like, I think it's for WWE, I think part of it is sort of an image thing. Obviously they have to, do well on their channel. They have to, in order to get a substantial amount of like advertising revenue, but realistically that doesn't change too much with the ratings because they sign kind of multiple year deals. But like one of the key things for WWE, I think, is it's image, because obviously like WWE is so used to ratings being its thing because it won the ratings war, obviously, and it used to command phenomenal ratings way back when. So it is a sort of sense of WWE competing against itself, because it is consistently one of the highest rated shows on cable. So like relatively speaking, even though like there's reams of headlines throughout wrestling journalism, lowest ratings ever, a year low for ratings. Like in terms of like looking at the rest of TV, WWE is doing fine. It's just not doing fine compared to its own glorious past, and no one is more kind of fragile in their image than WWE. Also, AEW is in town, and like obviously there is a ratings war happening there, mostly stoked by wrestling journalism, to be honest. And like I can understand that they were the benchmark of WWE's greatest victory. It beat WCW in the ratings. It's the greatest real life underdog story that WWE's ever done. So I can understand them sort of being like, this is how we judge our value. But like they're not that important.
I would say they're important in the sense of when it comes to renegotiating their TV contracts is where it becomes the important thing, because you're right, sort of like in general terms, not really, because Raw is consistently one of the highest rated things on the USA network, even when it is at its sort of like low end of its ratings. The Fox ratings aren't quite what they had hoped for, I don't think, because they should have been double what they are, but they're actually basically the same sort of number they were getting on USA Network last year on a different day. But their whole Fox deal, which was, it's a huge money deal, was predicated on them bringing in this audience that Fox could rely on. WWE Backstage was a show that was supposed to get much better ratings than it did, and since then has effectively been cancelled. When I say effectively, it has been cancelled. And when it comes to the USA networks and renegotiation of the deal, they're going to say, well, we paid you X amount of money for this rating, but you're not doing that rating anymore, so we're not going to pay you that amount of money. Whereas they're going to pay you Y amount of money for the ratings that you've done previously. And obviously then that is going to affect the stock price. It's going to affect the investors who are going into this, because they're going to be asking the questions, well, why are the ratings not quite as good? And that's really the reason why. And then there's, as advertisers, it's all really at the end of the day, WWE don't care about beating AEW. I don't think. I think what they care about is the advertising revenue that comes off the back of it and the TV deals.
It's tricky. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right in terms of like every time the contract comes up for renegotiation, they need stuff to be able to negotiate with. It's just that it is really frustrating because like the way to kind of get good ratings, like I was reading The Death of WCW the other day, and one of its great things that it says is that when wrestling is cold, nothing can be done. You can make all the right choices and it won't make a lick of difference. But when wrestling is hot, you can make all the mistakes you want and it also won't make a lick of difference. And the problem is that I think WWE generally is very cold. And so all of these things that they do to pop ratings, like the only real way to do it is to create a diverse roster of talent that people really, really are clamoring to see, and that takes time. There's rest in peace Undertaker's retirement. That's all I can say. He'll be back on TV within the year.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's just there's Paul Heyman's Raw wasn't great, and in some ways Bruce Pritchard's actual Raw has actually been more internally consistent, but it's the thing is like WWE just need to stop, just pick one and go with it for a while and let us kind of get behind like consistent telly, because it's possible. Like, like the Mandy storyline proved that, something can be really naff if it happens one week. But if you put time and effort into building something, then you will find an audience for it. It's just that WWE in its quest for ratings is incredibly schizophrenic. It drops things apropos of nothing because it's not got the ratings, and then it starts off new things and it drops them, and it starts a new thing and it drops it, and then you change the creative team, so the show feels massively different. And it's all this kind of like smoke and mirrors as opposed to be, it's like it's borderline WCW car crash telly, which is like look every single week is going to be so different, you never know what you're going to see. Is that a hook? No, you actually tune in to see what you're getting.